Securities. We are an education and information firm on the Gold Coast in Queensland, Australia. And every morning I go through what happened in financial markets around the world and try to forecast what we may see these coming days and weeks. I show you how investors and traders can make money on our stock market. I show you what is hot and what is not, and what you should hold and what you should fold. And by the way, enjoy the presentation. If you have any particular feedback, well, please give it to us. And if you know somebody that may benefit from this presentation, why don't you share it, review it. All right, well, overnight and from around the globe, we start with the Dow in Wall Street. On Wall Street, we can see that both the Dow and the S&P 500 dropped as investors worried about another round of business decline because of the coronavirus, and shifted their focus from the coronavirus to earnings. The Nasdaq continues to go higher and higher and higher. Again, all-time high, 10,547. In Europe, the Stoxx 50 index, which comprises most major European markets, 3 continuous days of declines, and so is the FTSE in London, and so is the DAX in Germany. So Europe at the moment is in decline. In Japan, the Nikkei was up 0.4% yesterday after 2 days of drops. The Shanghai index, another rise. The Shanghai index actually has been going up and up and up and up for a number of days. And the futures on our market showing that most likely we may see the market opening lower by 24 points, or 0.4% lower. Yesterday, our market was up 0.6%, 35% higher. Well, the futures yesterday morning was actually 50 points, while the market managed to get 35 points higher. Well, we're seeing at the moment a drop of 24 points. Let's see what happens all day today. Gold fell a bit from 1820 US per ounce yesterday to 1807. Don't worry about the $12. This is actually comparison between this morning and last night. But when all these figures showing what happened on every morning sessions. So from yesterday morning, we've seen $13 US down. Silver was down 14 cents from yesterday morning, and copper was slightly up. Brent crude oil dropped from yesterday $43.37 to $42.34, about $1. And West Texas crude oil down as well by another $1.40 or approximately. Okay, soybeans managed to gain 0.5%, and the Australian dollar versus the US 69.61, slightly down from yesterday morning. 61.7 euro cents, 55.2 British pence, and 105 New Zealand. And by the way, iron ore, for those people who follow BHP and Rio and Fortescue, was down 0.2%, still very high at the $106.32 US per ton. And I mentioned that aluminium was down 0.3%, copper was up 0.9%, and for those people who follow Bitcoin, Bitcoin was down 175 US compared to yesterday morning, and was trading at 9,250 US per coin, and that converts to approximately 13,290 Australian dollars, down nearly $200 from this time yesterday. Looking at the chart from where we pick up all our signals, you can see here that's the weekly Dow, that's the daily Dow, and here we see the parabolic stop and reverse for the weekly still bullish because they're still below the candles, and however the stochastic went bearish. And by the way, parabolic stop and reverse and stochastic happen to be more leading indicators, and the moving averages of course are lagging because they take much longer time to form. And we can see that the 9-week moving average and the 21 week moving average, that's the black line versus the orange line, almost touching each other. That's neutral. And you've got a red candle for this week so far. And yesterday, by the way, or I should say this morning, we can see that the candle has dropped below the 21-day moving average. That's the black. And that's the first time in 2, 4, 6, 7 days, 7 working days, 7 trading days. So, well, I would say now the support line, which should be the 50-day moving average, which at the moment is 25,265. And by the way, that's nearly 500 points below where it closed this morning. Well, it will be interesting to see what the futures are saying about 10, 11 o'clock this morning Queensland time, and we'll try to forecast what we might likely to see. We'll also watch for the claimed unemployment benefits, which I believe were higher last night. So that's not very good news. On our market, again, this weekly candle, we can see that it's still hovering between the 50% retracement, and the 61.8 Fibonacci retracement from the high and the lowest over the last few months. We think that we're going to stay in this area here for a number of weeks. Now, remember that the market opened higher yesterday, but eventually closed right on the 21-day moving average. The parabolic stop and reverse bullish, stochastic bearish. However, the 50-day moving average has crossed over the 100-day moving average, almost the same identical performance on the Dow. However, we've got a lot more neutral positions here, and also I would say more neutral positions for the investor and the traders. Okay, looking at the signals, we take all the signals from the chart and we put them into an Excel, and at the moment we have that's the weekly, hasn't changed all week, so that's exactly remains until Monday morning where it will change. However, for the daily, the indicators managed to get still a bullish for the very aggressive and aggressive traders. However, we turned neutral for the investor. The investor is a long-term investor who happens to be trading from 1 month to another, while the traders can actually trade from 1 week to another, or one day to another day. That's the very aggressive trader. So, and by the way, the Nasdaq continues to be bullish. The S&P 500 remains bullish. Gold, we're still in a bullish situations, even though the price of gold dropped by $12 overnight. So we're still trading Newcrest Mines, Northern Star, and some of the other pursuits as well. Crude oil turned a little bit more bearish overnight. Now in the Australian dollar, we remain bullish. We're trading very close to 70 US cents. We are the euro versus the US bullish, and the British pound bullish for the very aggressive trader. Now, a mechanical system, that's all the performance yesterday. We've had 35.2 points higher on the XJO. And you can see here, this morning, ANZ turned bearish despite the 8 cents increase yesterday. So that's how it closed yesterday at $18.49. We might see that changes perhaps lower today. BHP remains bullish. We were up 2% yesterday. Rio, again bullish, went up by 3.3% yesterday. Wesfarmers and Woolworths, a lot of buying of tissues and toilet rolls and taking some more provisions. Now the bearish side, CIMIC, that's the old Leighton Holdings, Santos and Woodside Petroleum have gone from well, we're still bearish on Santos for a number of days. And for Woodside Petroleum, we were actually bearish across investors and conservative traders. Well, we continue to be bearish for the investor, but with some reason turned neutral. Remember, Woodside Petroleum yesterday turned up 3.5%, so that has an effect on these signals here. By the way, all this presentation will be on the website shortly. Okay, we like to see the volume and to see how the advances versus declines performing against the volume. And you can see yesterday the volume was higher, actually 4.5 billion transaction. That's probably the highest in many days. And we've had 38% of all the stocks advancing and only 23% of all the stocks declining. So that's really a bit of positive sentiment. When we were actually had the declines exceeding the advances, the volume was a bit has dropped and lower than what happened yesterday. So that's interesting. And for the last 5 days, we can see that still the advances in combination over 5 days exceeding declines. Okay, yesterday we've seen number of shares advancing. When you look at the day before, we had a lot more declines. However, when we compare all these companies painted in yellow, they are 2 days in a row of advances. So for instance, Afterpay was up 11.4% yesterday, and the day before, if we find where are you? Sometime here, I think we can find that advance. Anyway, we know that the day before Afterpay was higher. Zip was higher 2 days in a row, 5.2% yesterday, and went up 10% yesterday. That's 2 days ago, and that's 15% rise. We are at the moment trading Zip. Evolution Mining was higher, 1.3% 2 days ago, 4.3% up yesterday. And you can see all the changes here. So we scan the market and we see which company has actually advanced with most active performance. So I mean, you've got 2 days in a row of that same company increasing over 2 days in a row, then you need to know why. Okay, so now we're looking at news. Well, nothing in Australia, but tonight we have the unemployment rate figures for Canada. US, this morning we've seen the 30-year bond auction. And natural gas storage was slightly below what was expected, and wholesale inventories hasn't changed, we're down 1.2%. So we have a lot of inventories declining, which is good. Now, in terms of companies which had extra volume, we've seen Telstra for 3 days in a row appearing here. Yesterday, the volume of Telstra was 55 million versus 31 million transaction moving average over 50 days. We look at 50-day volume, we work out the average, moving average, and then we compare yesterday volume with that moving average. And you can see here the volume was 78% higher than the average, and the price of Telstra was up 2.6%. On the downside, Aristocrat, 2 days in a row of declines, was slightly higher in the volume. AGL appearing for the first time in many days. The price was down 0.5% and the volume was up 15% higher. And again, this company Bubs Australia, if you can trade it on the CFDs, was 2.8% higher in price and 74% higher in volume. On the downside, nothing really exciting except Initi Group, if you have heard of this company. Finally, the CFD trading. You can see here that we've had a slight improvement in the total value of our portfolio. Thanks to, well, ANZ was down 222, improved slightly by nearly $80. Main went worse by another 50 days. Paladin 32 hasn't changed. Zip went from $68 loss to $5 because of the increase. Alright then, and by the way, we managed to close something that had made some profit on the XJR. We made some profit on the XJR. Okay, finally the disclaimer. Everything we said today is for general advice only. Remember, there is risk in trading and you need to understand your risk appetite. We don't know your financial circumstances, so obviously this presentation may or may not be for you. Okay, if you have any questions, all you have to do is ask. And if you want to know how to ask, well, you write to me, George at FS stands for full service. George at fssecurities, plural.com.au. Ringing from overseas, you put 61 for the country code. You don't need a 0. 61 411 25 9526. If you ring my mobile from a local destination, you ring 0411 25 9526. Finally, happy trading and good luck.